Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I still can't fully wrap my head around what happened, so I figured I'd lay it all out here. My girlfriend, Emily, was one of those rare people who seemed to glow from within. She was incredibly strong, kind, and smart, but life didn't make it easy for her. When we met, I was immediately drawn to her warmth and resilience, and as we got to know each other, I also fell for her daughter, Claire, who was 5 at the time. Emily had been through so much already, yet she always managed to hold her head high. Her story starts years before we met. At just 18, she got pregnant by her high school boyfriend, James. They were young, but they loved each other and wanted to make it work. Unfortunately, Emily's parents didn't see it that way. The moment she told them, they flipped. They insisted she terminate the pregnancy because it would ruin her life and shame the family. When she stood her ground and said she was keeping her baby, they gave her an ultimatum: either do what they said or be disowned. She chose her baby. She left home, moved in with James, and started a new life. It wasn't easy, but they managed. James's parents were supportive, both emotionally and financially, and they helped Emily and James create a stable home. When Claire was born, Emily was overjoyed. For 2 years, they were happy, making ends meet and dreaming of the future. Then tragedy struck. James was killed in a car accident, leaving Emily to raise Claire on her own. I can't imagine the pain she must have felt, but she kept going. James's parents continued to help her, and with their encouragement, she started a small cosmetics business. That business took off, and by the time I met Emily, she had built a solid life for herself and her daughter. She was proud of what she'd accomplished, and she had every reason to be. When Emily and I started dating, I knew she was special. Over time, I grew to love Claire as my own, and the 3 of us became a family. I moved in, helped out however I could, and eventually, Claire started calling me Dad. For 5 years, we were happy. We loved each other deeply. And then Emily got sick. When she was diagnosed with cancer, our world was turned upside down. She fought hard, but the disease was relentless. Even as her health declined, she stayed organized and thoughtful. She put together a will, set up a trust for Claire, and made sure everything was in place. Before she passed, she asked if I'd officially adopt Claire, so she'd always know she had a father who loved her. I didn't hesitate for a second. I wanted to honor her wishes, and I wanted Claire to feel secure. When Emily died, my heart broke into a million pieces, but I knew I had to stay strong for Claire. She'd already lost her biological father. Now, she'd lost her mother, too. The funeral was a difficult day. Our close friends, some family, and neighbors came to say goodbye. Claire stood beside me, holding my hand as we laid Emily to rest. But you know who didn't show up? Her parents. Not a phone call, not a flower arrangement, not even a text. Nothing. They had washed their hands of Emily years ago, and they clearly weren't interested in paying their respects. It hurt, but I tried to push it out of my mind. I was too focused on helping Claire get through the day. A month later, when the doorbell rang, I was stunned to find Emily's parents standing on my doorstep. I hadn't seen them before, only in pictures Emily showed me, and they didn't exactly look grief-stricken. They didn't offer any condolences or ask how Claire was doing. Instead, they came right out and demanded the keys to Emily's house. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard them correctly. They said they had a right to the house as Emily's parents. They also said they were ready to step in as Claire's guardians now that Emily was gone. I couldn't believe their audacity. I asked them where they had been all these years. Where were they when Emily was a terrified teenager, pregnant and kicked out of her home? Where were they when James died, leaving her a single mom? Where were they during her cancer battle or at her funeral? They had nothing to say about that. Instead, they started talking about how they'd made peace with the past and were ready to do the right thing now. The right thing now? After ignoring her and their granddaughter for over a decade? I told them Claire didn't need them. She had me. I showed them the adoption papers, making it clear that I was legally Claire's father. I showed them Emily's will, which put the house and everything else into a trust for Claire. Emily's wishes were clear. Her parents weren't part of the plan. That's when the threats began. They said they would sue me if I didn't hand over the house and let them be Claire's guardians. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was so absurd that I couldn't take them seriously. I told them they were welcome to try, but the law was on my side. More importantly, Emily's wishes were on my side. I reminded them of all the times they had abandoned her, all the years they had stayed silent while she struggled. I told them they had no right to claim anything now. Not the house, not Claire, not a single thing. I said they should be ashamed of themselves and to get out, and that I don't want to see them ever again, or I will call the cops. They eventually left, angry and empty-handed. I thought that would be the end of it, but the incident left me shaken. Some friends started to weigh in, saying that maybe I should let them see Claire. They argued that Claire had already lost so much. Her mom, her biological dad, her paternal grandmother, who had recently passed away. They said having Emily's parents in her life might give her a sense of connection, that it could help her heal. But I can't bring myself to believe that. These are the same people who disowned their daughter at her most vulnerable. They didn't want anything to do with Claire when she was born, when she was a toddler, or even when Emily was dying. They only showed up after Emily was gone, when they thought they could get something out of it. To me, that's not love. That's convenience. I don't want Claire to experience the same rejection her mother went through. I don't want her to have people in her life who only care when it benefits them. So now I'm left wondering if I made the right call. Am I protecting Claire, or am I letting my anger at Emily's parents cloud my judgment? Should I open the door to them, or keep it shut for good? Am I the a-hole for refusing to let them back into Claire's life after everything they did? Or rather, everything they didn't do? OP is definitely not the a-hole. They disowned her at one of the most vulnerable points in her life, abandoned her when she needed support, and didn't even bother to show up for her funeral. Now, they magically care once there's a house and a trust involved? Absolutely not. OP is protecting Claire from people who clearly don't have her best interests at heart. It's not about denying her family. It's about making sure the family she has truly loves her. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. They made their bed years ago, and now they're trying to crawl out of it because they see an opportunity. If they had cared even a little about Emily or Claire, they would have shown that care long before now. You're not blocking them from Claire's life. You're keeping toxic, self-serving people away from a child who has already been through enough. Not the a-hole. These people didn't want anything to do with Emily until she was gone, and now they're suddenly interested in Claire's well-being? Sorry, but their sudden grandparent instincts don't erase the years of abandonment and neglect. Stand your ground. Emily put her trust in you for a reason. Not the a-hole. Just because someone shares DNA doesn't mean they're entitled to be part of your daughter's life. They showed their true colors long ago, and nothing they've done since Emily's passing suggests they've changed. Claire needs stability, not people who only come around when it's convenient for them. I, 43 female, was married to Kay until he passed away in a road accident 7 years ago. Since getting married to Kay, we had lived in his childhood home. The house had 6 bedrooms with ensuite bathrooms accompanied by a large courtyard. The house was rented by Kay's parents when they first moved to the state, and Kay continued living in it even after his parents passed away. His brothers L and M moved out though. The rent for the house was a lot lower than what the rent would be for a house of that size in the neighborhood, but still much higher than what a 3-bedroom apartment would cost. But Kay refused to part with the house, even though he didn't need such a large house with just 2 kids. Just a few months before Kay passed away, the owners contacted me that they were moving to another country and wanted to sell the house. I felt really emotional, so I decided to buy it. I didn't bother informing this to my 2 brother-in-laws, since they never seemed to have had any attachment to the house. A year ago, my boyfriend of 3 years got transferred to another state by his company. Since my work is flexible, I agreed to move. I didn't want to sell the house, so I put it up for rent, and it has become quite a good source of income for me. About a week ago, my L called me angrily asking why I duped him and M out of money. Turns out, he was in my old neighborhood to show his childhood home to his kids, and found out I was the new owner of the house through conversation with the tenants. Basically, he said I should have asked for his permission before letting strangers live in the place where he and his siblings spent their childhood, and that I was dishonoring Kay's memory. He said that he deserved a share in the profits I make from the house, since it's his house too. A few hours later, I also got angry texts from M who reiterated what L said. Most of L and M's family have been constantly messaging me to give all the money I make from the house for the next year to L and M, to make up for what they lost. I originally didn't think I was wrong, but L's wife informed me that L and M were both having financial issues owing to the virus, and I was being incredibly inconsiderate, and that K would have wanted me to help his brothers. On asking my children's opinions, they said that I should give the money because of the monetary issues, since I didn't need it considering I have a stable job. I'm feeling really guilty now, and am not sure anymore. I'm exhausted trying to argue and justify myself. I am thinking of just giving in at this point, considering everyone but my boyfriend seems to think I am the one in the wrong. Am I the a-hole? Wait, you bought a house, now using it as an investment, and your brother-in-laws think they're entitled to your income because they once lived there? Yeah, not the a-hole. Brother-in-laws must think you're dumb for trying that nonsense. Also, their money problems aren't your problems. Edit. The wife is not your friend, nor does she have your best interest in mind. Just go no contact. These people are toxic. Not the a-hole. Your husband and brother-in-laws did not own this house. It was a rental, and you were the tenant. It was the house where they were raised, but they were not owners. You bought the house. Your brother-in-laws did not participate in that purchase. They are not entitled to any financial profit from owning the house. They are allowed to say that is the house where they were raised. It sucks that the virus was hard on them financially. That does not entitle them to your assets. Do not give them any money. Doesn't matter that they were your husband's family or that they are trying their best to guilt and manipulate you into it. Doesn't matter that right now you are financially stable because nobody knows what tomorrow brings. Build your nest egg and retirement account. Your brother-in-laws can do that on their own. Not off of you. Not the a-hole. It was never owned by their parents, but rented. The original owner put it up for sale, and they still were not interested. You invest in the house, lived there, and then moved and rented it. It is 100% your house, your money. They did not contribute to buying the house, its upkeep, its taxes. Only after they realize that it is a source of income are they interested. Do not fall for it. My father-in-law owned two businesses, a trucking company and a real estate business. He gave the trucking company to my brother-in-law and the real estate business to my husband. Now, both of them don't interfere in each other's business, but they share the profits. My brother-in-law doesn't know or care about my husband's business dealings and earnings, and the same goes for my husband. They share a joint bank account, and both of them don't care how much money they withdraw and how much they deposit. I was fine with the arrangement until my brother-in-law gifted an expensive sports car to his son. My son doesn't own an expensive sports car because my husband never gifted him one. I thought maybe he is undercutting us by keeping most of the profits for himself. So I asked my husband to start keeping an eye on the trucking business because clearly something is happening, and he is just not interested. He doesn't even know how many trucks his brother owns, on what routes they travel, what kind of loads they take, what are the profits like. He doesn't know anything. He is least bothered by it. I'm worried because my brother-in-law lives in a much bigger house than us. They drive big cars, wear nice clothes, go on vacations, etc. He tells me that whatever money he earns from his business is his brother's, and whatever money his brother earns from his business is his. He also tells me that they both are very close and trust each other, and that I'm unnecessarily trying to put fire between them. He also called me an a-hole for trying to ruin their relationship. I'm about to be very unpopular here. I don't think you're a complete a-hole. You have every right to be concerned about the money situation, since it does affect you. You're married, and his income is part of the family's income. I suspect the brother is taking advantage of the situation, and your husband is too afraid to stand up to him. This definitely seems sketchy. But you've said your piece. You may have to stand back and watch your husband be taken advantage of. With a shared account, I don't know if there could be any liability on hubby's part if brother isn't running everything by the book. I'd ask a lawyer. All that being said, I do understand the other side of the coin. Sometimes people need an outside perspective. Your husband needs to open his eyes. You're the a-hole. Your husband is right. Your brother-in-law can do what he likes with his profits in business. I'm making the assumption that while your husband doesn't monitor the trucking business, he does have an idea of what comes and goes from the joint account. I'm sure if there was a massive discrepancy there, he would bring it up to his brother. You're not necessarily the a-hole, But you will definitely become the a-hole if you keep on persisting with this. You should definitely let it go, since your husband also doesn't care about it. If you're financially secure, the money your brother-in-law makes or how he makes it shouldn't affect you. Neither the fact that him and your father-in-law have more money or bigger estates, etc. My sister, 33 female, and her then boyfriend, 33 male, set up a business when they had been dating for over 2 years. He's a chef who runs his own cafe. He and his mom had been making their own condiments, jams, pickles, chutneys, etc., which they had been planning to sell for a while. In 2020, they decided to fully launch a business and start retailing them. He asked my sister to join him in setting up his business, and in May 2020, they actively started planning and strategizing. From July 2020 to July 2021, my sister was actively a part of this company. He and his mom would make up the condiments. My sister ideated and came up with the packaging and branding mostly on her own. In July, as they bought the packaging materials and started planning sales, he was staying at our place. He's from a different, more remote town, and they were working about 18 hours a day. Their work involved buying and arranging relevant packaging and branding material, manually bottling the condiments, packaging them by hand, which was a process that involved several steps, promotion material, processing orders, and so on. He told my sister he could either make her a co-owner of this company or give her a fixed income every month, and they mutually decided that she would become a mutual shareholder in the company. My sister spent the year working on packaging, branding, promotion, orders. The business was doing well, and their condiments were selling fast. After a few months, he shifted his base back to his hometown where he got a team to do the manual packaging, while my sister was still helping with sending orders, managing promotion and social media, processing orders, working with him on new products, and so on. Meanwhile, she spent quite a bit of her own money on this, and the paperwork for making her a shareholder was never processed. But since they were dating, she never gave it much thought. He never paid her any profits or income from the company either, because they planned to figure it out when the paperwork was done. In July 2021, they broke up. The breakup was abrupt and unpleasant. My sister told him it was too painful for her to continue working with the company. He was understanding of that. He paid her back 2/3 of the money she had spent on the company. However, he hasn't mentioned anything about paying her for her work, time and effort she put into the company, and still hasn't paid her back the remaining amount. Now my sister wants to know if he's going to 1. Pay her back the amount he owes her, and 2. Pay her what is technically owed her for the work she put in. She wants to ask him about it, but worries she'll come off as petty and cheap asking him to pay her, because they never agreed on an amount and never finalized her becoming a shareholder. For context, she's still very hurt about the way they broke up and has been actively not engaging with him, so to ask for the money would be her breaking that silence. Not the a-hole, but I hope she has something in writing to back up her position. She is probably going to have to sue him. It's a big decision. The legal system is not a fast one, and legal fees are high. She needs to weigh whether it is worth it or if it's better to cut her contact now, move on, and chalk it up to lesson learned. You would not be the a-hole, but why do you think he would talk to her about it? Your sister needs to separate personal from business. She can't both give her ex the silent treatment and discuss fair compensation for her work. She needs to do this herself. Not the a-hole, but she's probably going to get screwed over. I honestly feel terribly about what happened. I don't know if I did something that can classify me as an a-hole, so I'm asking you. Please do tell me your honest opinion. Thanks in advance for reading this. My wife, fake name, Hannah, 32 female, and I, 32 female, had invited my sister-in-law, fake name, Anne, 28 female, and her family over for lunch. We all had a good time. Our kids were playing together in the garden after we ate. We have 2 daughters. My sister-in-law has 2 sons and a daughter. So I was putting the dishes in the dishwasher. Anne came by my side and started up a conversation about how I saw many complicated diseases at work. I'm a neurologist. I have the unfortunate habit of getting a bit over myself when someone mentions something about my work. So my sister-in-law mentioned a disease and said she had read up on it and asked me what it really was. I went on to explain. I don't want to mention exactly what it was, but most people who have it only last until their early 20s. When I was done putting dishes in the dishwasher, I turned to look at Anne, and she had tears in her eyes. It was heartbreaking. Hannah came in and asked me what was going on. I said I talked about a disease, and it may have gotten her emotional a bit, because it was unfortunately not a treatable one. Ann got her kids immediately and left. Hannah and I were both extremely confused. Later, Ann's husband called me and told me I was an absolute a-hole for doing what I did to Ann. I still didn't know what it was that I had done. Turns out, one of Ann's sons had been diagnosed with that disease, and she was asking me to see if it was as bad as his doctor made it sound. I genuinely had no idea. My wife sometimes asks me questions the same way, and I thought it was because of genuine interest in something she had read up on. My mother-in-law also gave Hannah a call and said I should apologize for how I acted with Ann. Hannah said that there was nothing to apologize for anyway. She said she knew her wife, and she was sure that if I knew, I would have been extremely sensitive. Anyways, I later convinced Hannah to get some flowers. We went to Ann's house. I handed her the flowers and said I was sorry and that I didn't know, and that I would be with her if there was anything she needed me to do. She called me an a-hole and told me I couldn't fix what I had done with stupid flowers. I didn't argue. We came back home. Now I know she is going through a lot. However, I was also wondering if I am the major a-hole here. Please, if I am, do tell me so. Not the a-hole. You were asked a question with no context and answered it as an expert in the field would. It's heartbreaking for her, but her anger is wholly misplaced on you. But she also probably just needs someone to be mad at right now and for a while. You apologized. Time to give some space while letting them know you're still there for them. Not the a-hole. Don't worry, you did nothing wrong. Ann asked you a question, and you answered it. How are you supposed to know her child was diagnosed with it without her telling you? Telepathy? Honestly though, maybe just wait. I think Ann is probably in a world of hurt, and I think she'll come around eventually. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law could have told you before asking the question if she wanted a more sensitive answer. You have done everything correctly the way I see it. But be patient with sister-in-law, as it's an extremely difficult time for her. I'm sure she'll come around and get past this. She sure needs your support and expertise. My boyfriend, 30 male, has a daughter, Haley, 11 female. Haley's mother left when she was around 1, and my boyfriend is pretty uninvolved as a father. When Haley was 6 months old, her mom was dealing with some mental health issues, so my boyfriend hired a nanny, Laura, to do everything baby-related. He had Laura move in within a couple of months of Haley's mom leaving, and Laura is still working for my boyfriend today. Laura is very close with my boyfriend's family. She's with the family every holiday, and honestly, I think they like her better than me. My boyfriend says she's become a good friend over the years, and he and Laura go out at least once a month. And Laura is extremely involved in Haley's life. She's room mom at her school. I didn't know you could be room mom without being a mom. She's at every play, concert, soccer game, etc. She even goes to Haley's therapy appointments. Haley doesn't do anything for herself because of Laura. Laura wakes her up, packs her backpack and lunch, and does her hair every morning, and does homework with her every afternoon. She tucks Haley in every night and sits with her until she falls asleep. Haley is very attached to Laura, and Laura is to Haley. Laura even takes Haley out with her on her days off. Haley has been disinterested in getting closer with me, and her dad and I honestly think it's because of Laura. I was talking to my boyfriend and said that Haley's too attached to Laura and suggested that he be more involved in Haley's life since he's now in a better position to be a father, and we can have Laura move out. Haley heard us and is heartbroken and terrified. She's refusing to speak to me or leave Laura's side. She's faked being sick at school so many times this week that they don't want her to come back today. Laura says Haley hasn't been sleeping and is worried about her. My boyfriend is blaming me for all of this, but there's no way I could have known that Haley would be eavesdropping or that she'd get this scared. Am I the a-hole here? Well, let's see. She's got no bio mom. Dad is uninvolved, and you're letting your jealousy and insecurities destroy the only parental relationship she's ever known. Oh, and she's not your stepdaughter. She's your boyfriend's daughter. And your boyfriend should step up for his daughter and get more involved. But that's a gradual process that doesn't begin with throwing out the only mom your boyfriend's daughter has ever known. You're the a-hole, like a-hole of the month so far. You're the a-hole, massively so. You enter Haley's life, and the first thing you do is destroy the one constant in her life. The one thing that has been constant, and she could always count on. Haley needs a lot of therapy, and a lot less of you. You're the a-hole. You want to separate her from her primary caregiver. By your own admission, her father is fairly detached from her. This woman is filled in as her mother her entire life, a decade. Nanny, in turn, is clearly dedicated to this child. This is not a small relationship. This is a big one. You, as girlfriend, are not in a position to disrupt it. It's great to want to encourage your boyfriend to become a more invested father. That's a lovely quality. It's also wonderful to seek out more opportunities to get to know daughter. But it is a scary thought to her to hear you want her mom figure to leave. Maybe you can change the boundaries in arrangement years from now. Lord knows their relationship should change as she grows up. It will have to be by necessity. But this is not the way to start, and not this way. This is a concern for Haley and Dad, and probably a family therapist, not you.